Hello and welcome. You're watching Last Tick here on News 9 Live. I'm Krishna Kumar, and as always, on Last Tick, we get you all the latest as far as India's stock markets and how they close for trading today is concerned. We have Suyash Maheshwari joining us on Last Tick. Suyash, talk to us as far as today's trading session is concerned. After everything, still a day of gains for both Sensex and the Nifty, just like yesterday.
Yes, Krishna, absolutely. A strong day, that too. You know, if Nifty opened on a gap, both Nifty and Sensex actually saw a gap up opening where, you know, Nifty opened above the 19,200 levels and it continued to trade higher for the majority of the session. Although the index did face some sort of resistance at around 19,250 sort of levels. So perhaps going forward, that 250 to 9,300 will be a crucial resistance. Once we break that, according to at least analysts, we can at least go up another 200 points. So 19,500 could be on cards if we break through this range of 19,250 to 19,300 levels. Now, Sensex on the other hand was up almost 300%. I think it rose about 280 points or so, up nearly 0.44% and sits well above that 64,300 sort of levels. Look at the broader markets, Krishna. They have remained buoyant in the face of volatility that we have seen, you know, in the last couple of weeks. Nifty Mid Cap 100 was up 0.7%. Or pretty much flattish on a since morning, and you know, closed well above that 39,500 levels. Whereas small cap index was the outperformer between the three, large caps, mid caps and small caps, and it's really a surprise over here because once the chip starts falling is the small cap index which corrects first, and we are seeing good bit of resilience in the small cap index, considering that they have, you know, turned, some of the stocks have turned multi-bagger this year. Now Nifty small cap 100 was up 1.21%, inching towards that 13,000 sort of levels. Volatility has reduced, volatility has come down by about 2% in today's session, and India VIX ended today's trade at around 10.88. So all in all, the setup is looking very good for the bulls.
Right, the positive close the trading week as far as India stock markets are concerned. The volatility too in that comfortable range. Don't look at the 10 percentage number and get confused. Suyash will tell you that that 10 number is what India is comfortable with. That's the level of volatility we're comfortable with. So solid week for the markets. To help us understand more, we have Mr. Kranthi, Bathini, equity strategist at Wealth Mill Securities, now joining us live on the broadcast. Kranthi, great to have you on the broadcast. Tell us, after so much speculation, especially this week with respect to the US Fed decision, etc., etc., it's been a strong close for India's stock markets, both on Thursday and on Friday.
Yeah, Krishna, Indian market showing its resilience. Time and again, Indian market has proven that it's a resurgent and resilient market. Last week, there was a selling pressure on the market due to the global cues. But the domestic environment is quite positive. All the domestic macro indicators are in line with the expectation, and they are helping the market to sustain above these levels of 19,000 level, which is very crucial for sentiment of the market is concerned in a medium to short term. And also what we can see, the earnings season has been quite good. There are no negative surprises till now with respect to the company earnings are concerned. So all these factors are helping the market to sustain above these levels. Right now, the cause of concerns, as we all aware, the growing bond yields in US and the rising escalation tensions in Middle East and also in West Asia. These are the factors creating pressure on Indian markets at this point of time. Only the global factors are creating acting on a negative side right now. Whereas the domestic macro environment is quite, by and large, quite positive at this point of time, which helped the market to regain the buying interest. What we witnessed, one more point, Krishna, we need to discuss is, last month, the FIs have been on a complete selling spear, which created some kind of pressure on the market. Whereas right now, the rally is currently led by the DIIs and also the domestic retail buying that is helping the market to sustain in these levels, which is a positive for Indian markets at this point of time.
Now, Krishna, even the sectors today are looking, across the board, they are in the green. I want to highlight a few sectors here for you. Nifty Realty, let's talk about that first. Nifty Realty hit a new 15-year high. It surged about 2.54% in today's trade. It was a top performing sector in today's trade. Another one I want to talk about is the Nifty IT pack. Nifty IT pack has seen a good bit of a run up in the last 3 or 4 sessions ever since the Fed decided to hold on rates. And since we know that, the IT sector, Indian IT sector has a big exposure to US. Interest rates not going up there means that the business will return, discretionary spending will perhaps pick up, at least if not in the next couple of quarters going forward, maybe in FY25. So we are seeing a good bit of buying interest coming out in IT pack also. Another one is a Nifty banking pack. As we know, it has been a laggard. It has been a laggard for quite a while now. It's the only sector that did not, scale lifetime highs in the previous month. It was up about 0.7%, and from a technical standpoint, it is sitting above the 200-day simple moving average. So all in all, this points at a turnaround for the Nifty banking pack. Now, Kranthi, as far as technical, technicals go, Nifty bank seems to be, putting out a turnaround here. But from a fundamental standpoint, how is the banking pack placed, sir?
Yeah, Suresh, the bank results are quite good in this earnings season. What we can see is some kind of domestic buying long only money has been coming into the banking space right now, and Bank Nifty also helping the market to sustain above these 19,000 levels. We can see some robust kind of results coming from ICICI Bank. HDFC Bank was already declared the results. IndusInd Bank also helped the Nifty index to stay in a positive territory. And one thing, Suyash, the point what you discussed is a very valid point. Reality index have touched a 15-year high, whereas the interest rates globally are at a 15-year high, and also the bond yields are at a 15-year-old high, even in fact 20-year-old high. But what it shows in Indian market, because the reality is conceived and perceived as a interest rate sensitive, whereas in Indian market the reality, the numbers have been quite good, and the sales numbers disclosed by majority of the reality companies are in a quite positive territory, and they are going on month, whereas right. The mortgage business is the reality sales happens on a mortgage, and also these are all conceived as a interest rate sensitives. Whereas in India, the reality numbers have been going up, and the interest rate sensitives like auto index numbers have been going up. It shows the strength of India's strong domestic consumption.
Right. Strong domestic consumption. Talking about domestic consumption, we are in the middle of corporate earnings season, and as far as domestic consumption is concerned, Zomato's results have come out. Suyash, talk to us. How have those results panned out?
Krishna, Zomato has turned profitable operationally for the very first time. Now, you may be wondering, last quarter we heard also, Zomato turning profitable. But in the previous quarter, the profit figure, which was about 2 crore rupees, was an outcome of an accounting adjustment. So, loss before tax, which we call PAT, in this case it will be loss before tax, last time around was around 15 crore rupees. There was an adjustment of deferred tax of about 17 crore rupees. As a result, the net profit after tax stood at around 2 crore rupees. But this time around, the company has turned that around and turned operationally profitable for the first time. Now, profit before tax in the September quarter stood at around 21 crore rupees versus a loss of about 261 crore rupees in the year ago period. These are the net profit figures that you are seeing. I am talking about profit before tax, before adjusting for tax. And even if you look at the other figures, revenue, Krishna, jumped by about 72% on a year-on-year basis. Even on a sequential basis, I think we have seen the highest ever figure in terms of revenue coming out from Zomato. You can also see EBITDA improving. EBITDA had posted, come out at a loss of about 312 crore in the year ago period. This time around, EBITDA loss has narrowed, and quite significantly at that, by about 85%, coming in at 47 crore rupees. I was also looking at the breakdown of the, the segments, how they contributed to that revenue figure, the highest ever revenue figure on a quarterly basis. Now, food delivery business, which contributes to about 50% to the entire revenue for Zomato, grew at about 13% on a quarter-on-quarter basis.
All right.
Now, this was much ahead of what the street had put in. Street had expected the figure to come in at around 7 to 8%. So, almost, a double. The revenue has jumped almost double on a quarter-on-quarter basis against the street's expectations. B2B business, which is the hyper pure business, has seen an increase of about 21% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, again ahead of street estimates. The quick commerce business, Blinkit saw a revenue growth of about 31.5% again on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Now, street was estimating the figure to come, improve by about 15% on a quarter-on-quarter basis.
So that's double.
Yeah, so clear beat across all three segments. Going out, which is a dine out business, also improved by about 17% or so.
Right, fantastic. That's a complete breakdown of Zomato's results. All business segments, they're expanding and expanding doubly than what was actually expected by the street, isn't it? All
Yes.
segments.
And that's, we see the reaction, the positive reaction even in the stock price. Now, Zomato, mind you, was trading with, profits of about 6%, 6 odd percent before the results came out. After the results came out, it jumped almost 10%.
Right.
Ended the day about 9.6% higher. So clearly the street is very happy with the results that they have posted. Even the Zomato story, Krishna, this time around, like even if you look at the 2023 returns, it's almost on the verge of becoming a multi-bagger. It's up 95% on a year-to-date basis. In the last 6 months, the stock has given returns of about 80%, and in the last 1 month, it's up almost 17%. Kranthi, the results, of course, you must have not gotten enough time to, really break down the numbers.
But we have broken down those numbers. Suyash has broken down those numbers. I must have been hearing him. So clearly, tell us simple questions over here. Tell us simply in terms of Zomato stock. That's all we want to understand. Great numbers. Everybody is happy. Everybody is doubly happy. What happens to the Zomato stock already after what has happened already come Monday morning?
Yeah. Krishna and Suyash, thanks for elaborating the numbers and giving the segment-wise breakout. Coming to Zomato, the company has learned in a very hard way to make the company operationally profitable. The Blinkit, which was the cause of concern for the investors in the previous quarters, now it turned as positive. And the street has been anticipating. The stock has, when it touched the low of around 40 to 50 levels in the previous quarters. From there onwards, the company has learned, which is the revenue has to be transformed into profitability, and the margins have been improving. And currently, the current quarter, there is a complete turnaround performance with respect to
complete turnaround as far as Zomato is concerned. Is the word coming from Kranthi. Kranthi, stay with us. Quickly, we want to cover another big earnings that came out as part of earnings season. That is Titan's earnings. Suyash, talk to us. How are they for Titan?
So Titan also came out in the last hour of trade. Titan's numbers are looking quite healthy. There is a beat on the profitability front, there's a beat on the revenue front. However, Krishna, the margins have disappointed on a year-on-year basis. Now let's go through the numbers quickly. Profit figure, the net profit figure for the quarter stood at around 940 crore rupees, up almost 10% on a year-on-year basis. Revenue jumped almost 34% from the year ago period, coming in at 11,660 crores. EBITDA was
right, there you go. That's net profit and revenue figures of Titan. We have just about 30 seconds left. Kranthi, your quick take on the Titan stock.
There seems to be some kind of margin pressure, Krishna, but any dip in Titan, it's a very good opportunity. The story goes on.
Fair enough. For any dip is an opportunity to buy as far as Titan is concerned. Whatever happens with the stock after results like that, bear in mind it came in after market hours, so we'll know the stock reaction only come Monday morning. But for now, we need to wrap things up here on last day. Kranthi, Bathini, Equity Strategy at Wealthman Securities. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us. And of course, Suyash Maheshwari, bringing the market action for us every single day here on News 9 Live. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it with News 9. Hello and welcome. You have tuned into News 9 Live. This is Business Plus. I am Krishna Kumar and I'm joined in the studios by Karthik Malhotra as we begin this edition of Business Plus with masks on our face simply because it's not COVID that's back. It is air pollution in Delhi NCR, which is back to its annual peak. So much that us here in Noida are not able to step out onto the streets without these on our faces, isn't it, Karthik?
Absolutely, Krishna. I mean, you wake up in the morning, you can't see a thing, you can't see the next building, you try to drive on the roads, it is absolutely dusty, muggy, smoky. Just no respite whatsoever.
Just no respite whatsoever. So we're going to put it into perspective. For all those of you watching this broadcast, we are here in studios here in Noida. This is our life, and this is our life year after year. But just to give you an idea of what the air quality levels, how poor they are, we have our colleague Udisha now joining us live on this broadcast. Udisha, thank you so much for taking time out. And clearly, you two have been suitably masked up. Let's quickly take these off.
We are indoors, thankfully.
Thankfully, we're indoors. That's the only reason why we're taking these masks off. We're indoors. We're safe now. But tell us how unsafe it is outside here in Noida and the rest of Delhi NCR.
Krishna, I would like to give you with the example of myself. I drive my scooty every morning at 7 to this office, and there is a thick smog that you see, and it's very difficult these days, and it's increasingly becoming very difficult to see and find your way, and you just turn your headlights on and everything. So if we talk about numbers, then in the past 5 days, the air quality in Delhi has worsened. So if we talk about this number, then 300 to 400, it's very poor, and over 400, it's the severe air quality. Now, if we see date-wise, on 29th October, the air quality was 300 plus, 30 October, 300 plus. The same goes on, and yesterday, if we talk about, the number increased to 343. If we talk about Anand Vihar area and areas including Rohini, the air quality was severe, which crossed the 400 mark, and it was at 415.
This morning, Noida, sector 125, where we are, Krishna, the AQI level, at least what my iPhone told me, was 400 plus again. So it's not just Anand Vihar, the ISBT, the terminal where all the buses come and all the diesel vehicles come. I think this is across the board. In fact, some reports yesterday also suggesting that AQI level in some parts of Delhi had breached the threshold of 999. I don't know if those reports are believable or not, but there were reports which indicated that 999, which is the uppermost limit at which AQI, air quality index, measures the toxins in the air, it had possibly breached that as well.
Wow. So that AQI is severe is what you're telling us.
Right.
And this is the latest data for the last 3-4 days as far as Delhi NCR is concerned. And Karthik is talking about it's across Delhi NCR. It's just because you're in Delhi, you're safer. Noida, you're safer. You're safe nowhere in Delhi NCR come the month of November, December, isn't it, Udisha? It happens every year.
That is very true, and it's not just Delhiites who are experiencing things. So Rohit Sharma, the cricketer, he was traveling back from Lucknow to Mumbai, and during the flight, he took a snap of the plane side, and he posted on Instagram saying that the air quality has worsened like anything, and in Hindi he said what has happened to Mumbai. And not just Rohit Sharma, it's the US ambassador to India also who experienced that, and who said that, the Delhi's air quality, it looks like you are growing up in LA, because whenever you were in LA, there was always pollution everywhere. So it's not just we experiencing it, it's just people who have, who are at high positions also. They are also talking about the seriousness of the situation and the menace of air pollution in India, in total, we can say that.
Right, it's a big word coming in from Eric Garcetti, US Ambassador to India. Good that Udisha is pointing out to us. Incredible. And also, it's not just Eric Garcetti. Everybody from Rohit Sharma, the cricketer, to Eric Garcetti, they're feeling it in India. And the scary part is that this is not being restricted just to Delhi NCR. It's extending all the way up to Mumbai as well, isn't it, Karthik?
But, Udisha, I want to understand, since you're studying this subject very, very closely, we've been talking for years about the Delhi government's GRAP, the Graded Response Action Plan. What is the GRAP looking like this year?
Right. So currently the CAQM has implemented the third stage of this graded response action plan, and as per the action plans, this is what we see. There is a ban on the construction activities in the NCR region, the National Capital Region. There is a complete ban on that. However, for special projects only, the ban has been lifted, just for the special projects, and these special projects will be the defense related projects, health related projects, interstate bus terminal related projects. And if we can move ahead, then these the government has also
Water
said
sprinklers, they never work, they just dirty your cars even more.
yes.
Okay, sure.
Yes. and the complete ban on the excavation, boring and the drilling works. The diesel buses in fact are also banned to enter in the Delhi region, and there is also a ban on the demolition works, loading and unloading of construction materials anywhere within.
Any talk of odd even getting implemented again? Any chances of odd number vehicles
That
flying
will
an
soon
even
happen
number?
if it has not happened to date. And there is also Delhi schools, basically schools in Delhi, the primary schools are shut off. Why? Because children might feel this pressure of this air pollution and everything. So
schools in Noida are definitely open. We are sitting in Noida. My daughter went to school this morning with the mask on, and
there are
I think
enough
the
and
only
more parents complaining in Noida as
so
to
I had
how
to
are
tell
schools
my
open.
daughter, do not engage in outdoor sports today. Just stay inside your classroom. And if you have to step out, when you do have to step out, for lunch or something, keep your mask on. That is all that I think we are able to do right now, sitting here in Noida.
And we were talking about during COVID times that wearing a mask and everything, hinders your socialization because for obvious reasons. So when we are talking in the case of children, then again it's the repetition of what we did in COVID, and we are up using mask again because there's no way out unless we do something about it.
Right, and I think the urgency right now, Karthik and Udisha, as we were talking, is that before the adults, I think we have to save the children. We have to think about when to shut down schools, especially in Delhi NCR.
True.
Take calls, are dynamic, check air quality levels every single morning and save the children at least. Actually, you should be saving everybody, but at least save the children is the request, is the alarm we're raising here from News 9 Live on Business Plus. Udisha, thank you for joining us on that. So we're clearly understanding the fact that whatever you choose to do when your air is like that, that's where your focus will be. And we all have taken out our masks for today because it's been bad. Bear in mind, it's not like, Udisha, isn't that right? As Udisha was talking about, it's been bad since October 29. We are in November 3rd today.
But I think, Krishna, again, whatever graded responses we tinker around with, whatever anybody says, the fundamental problem which results in air pollution is not the vehicles, is not the diesel, is not even, firecrackers which get banned on every Diwali. I think it is very simply proven that it is the stubble burning which happens in Punjab and Haryana. The urgency to quickly turn around your harvest, the stubble left over from your harvest, get the land ready for the next sowing season, and quickly put it on fire. Farm fires, field fires across the board, and all the air getting stuck here.
Just one change I'd like to make.
Capital.
From what I understand, the numbers this year, apparently, stubble, as far as stubble burning is concerned, the stubble burning in Punjab has come down. Guess where it's increased?
Haryana?
UP.
Oh my God.
So the amount of stubble burning has increased in UP for the year as compared to, let's not forget the fact that there's still stubble being burnt in Punjab, still stubble being burnt in Haryana, still stubble being burnt in UP. We're witnessing an increase in UP, and some numbers say that it actually reduced a little bit in Punjab.
Oh my God. Competitive federalism has an all-new definition. Let's compete on who can burn more stubble. Come on, Chief Minister, state governments, time to wake up and take some real action.
Absolutely. Dark comedy aside, this is a very serious situation. We here at Business Plus are reminding all the authorities as to what we're going through. We have masks outside, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not COVID. Thank God it's not COVID, but this is equally, murderous enough and taking away lives of people, and we hope that we have a solution very soon. So Udisha, thank you so much for taking time out to help us understand what is going on over here. Let's move on, but keep it with air. There is the talk of something called as carbon tax.
Yeah.
Right. And now there's a chance that Indian companies could be specifically charged carbon tax by, global authorities. Talk to us about that.
So, Krishna, I think, CBAM, which is the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM, is something which the European Union is implementing from 2026. Some reports suggest that from as early as 1st of Jan 2026. We don't have much time to really overhaul all the industrial toxins that get produced and all the carbon that gets emitted into the environment. And the European Union is saying that any exports to the EU from India will be taxed under the CBAM. Not just India, I think across the world, CBAM becomes a global standard that companies which are not carbon neutral will have to pay an additional tax to the European Union for their exports into that region. Now, obviously, that's a problem for India. India is not going to be able to turn around its industries and have that energy transition to achieve net carbon zero. We have our own target of 2070 for net carbon zero, but even till 2030, we are looking at 500 gigawatts of installed capacity for renewable energy. Those are going to feed into the grids, and those grids are going to feed into the industries and companies. But overall, we are not going to be ready by 2026. So how is India going to avoid this carbon tax? Because this is pure play cash out. It doesn't benefit anybody other than the European Union itself. And it's not that they have set the most exciting and and the best practices out there when it comes to containing emissions. I mean, they have a 100-200-year-old advantage over India. So I think the fight between the West and the East, developed versus developing bloc, on whether our industrialization should get impacted by these COP28 and Paris climate change agreements and and the overall pressure on carbon neutrality, should that impact our own growth? That is a larger debate. But I think what is interesting is that even with this carbon tax CBAM getting implemented from 2026, Industry Minister Piyush Goyal at an ORF conference yesterday hinted at a fairly interesting workaround. And his suggestion, his idea, primarily emanating from a suggestion that it might be interesting to actually tax emitting organizations, non-carbon neutral companies, industries here in India itself at the same rate at which CBAM is going to kick in from 2026. India collects that tax. India uses that money collected from the tax to help this green energy transition within Indian industries as a whole.
To help its own carbon neutrality.
To help the nation's whole carbon neutrality. Right. Instead of paying the tax to CBAM to the European Union, we collect the tax here domestically. Very interesting insights coming. I don't know if it's workable or not, but let's listen in.
Let's listen to what Union Minister Piyush Goyal had to say. Let's listen in.
The tax, the carbon border adjustment mechanism tax, CBAM, will start sometime in 2026. But personally, I think we in India need not be concerned about it beyond a stage. Of course, we are in dialogue with the European Union and the European countries and their leadership to understand more about it and to see how this will play out. But there are two aspects which I would like all of you to know, and therefore you can rest assured that you are in safe hands. The government is seized of the issue fully and is in dialogue, and solutions will be found. One, if the country from which the goods originate taxes carbon at the level at which the European Union taxes their domestic companies, then there will be no additional tax on our exports to those countries. So if we collect the tax in India itself and use it for our green energy transition, which indirectly will help the same companies who are exporters as they transition to cleaner energy and bring down their carbon footprint, there will be no additional CBAM tax at the European border. And we'll find a solution around a domestic tax which will take care of equating European and Indian tax.
There you go, straight to the horse's mouth, an alternative. Instead of Indian companies being taxed outside of India, it's better that India is proactive in taxing its own companies and making sure collecting those taxes to help India's green energy transition. That's where it is, isn't it, Karthik? I mean, we're looking for alternatives to ensure that Indian companies can have a easier way of trading and operating in other countries.
Absolutely, Krishna. And I think if you're able to circumvent this CBAM, obviously all the money that gets collected through this new tax, the carbon tax, a domestic local carbon tax, will help us offset our own requirements when it comes to carbon neutrality and the costs therein, and not pay this money to the European Union, which has, of course, the entire developed bloc has polluted the environment enough already, right? Why should we pay them more money right now? So I think if you're able to initiate this and go ahead with it and be carbon compliant at the same time, it's definitely a win for India.
Fair enough. Win for India. Win for India and win for India's green energy transition. And talking about India's green energy transition, a very important part of that is our electric vehicles, electric cars, and they had a good time until now, called FAME subsidies helping them. But looks like those subsidies for the manufacturing of electric vehicles, named as FAME subsidies, are set to be taken away from electric vehicle manufacturers, isn't it, Karthik?
Not sure whether it will be taken away completely, whether it will be taken away partly, or whether there would be more infusion of funds into FAME. So let's look at FAME. What is FAME? FAME is faster adoption of electric and hybrid mobility, right? Now, the government had initiated FAME in 2015, and the first batch of FAME, called FAME 1, ran for 4 years. Very small allocation, under 1,000 crores, just about 900 crores or so. And that ran for a period of 4 years. 2019 is when FAME 2 kicked in with a subsidy amount as high as 10,000 crore rupees. Now, where did India use this 10,000 crore rupee outlay? This 10,000 crore rupees got used primarily in electric two-wheelers. And we've seen the numbers, Krishna. Year on year, we've seen electric two-wheelers really adding to electric mobility in India. And what was this FAME 2 all
More
about?
than cars.
More than cars, much more than cars. So 7,53,000, if my numbers serve me right, are what the subsidies on two-wheelers were, as compared to just about 55,000 odd four-wheelers. Just about 10,000, less than that, about 9,000 odd electric buses.
Right.
So two-wheelers were actually the biggest beneficiaries of this FAME subsidy. What was this FAME subsidy? Primarily, it was a cash back to the consumers, end consumers, from the dealers, from the distributors, from the manufacturers of electric two-wheelers, as a real cash in hand incentive to go ahead and buy those electric two-wheelers. Now the government is, and that ran into its own sets of challenges, right? Number one being that localization norms got flouted apparently by 7 electric two-wheeler manufacturers, and they had to pay the money back to the government of India, the Ministry of Heavy Industries, because of flouting of these localization norms. But that's a different story altogether. The focus right now is that if FAME 3 were to be reintroduced or introduced for the first time with or without an increased or decreased allocation, then what should be the target for FAME 3? Number one, Ministry of Finance is saying, is there a rationale at all in subsidizing electric vehicles? Because according to Ministry of Finance and some reports in the Economic Times, there has been a level of maturity already achieved in electric mobility in India. So any further subsidy is perhaps not going to cut in when it comes to more people wanting to buy EVs. Now, Ministry of Heavy Industries perhaps is not of the same view and thinks that maybe it is time to incentivize the commercial vehicles, the shared mobility, taxis, etc., as well as four-wheelers, and give subsidies to consumers like you and me to go ahead and buy those four-wheelers which are far more expensive than ICE engines. So if that subsidy comes our way, remember we already have a subsidy, we get a tax incentive. If we buy an electric vehicle, then up to 2,50,000 rupees or something, if I remember correctly, we have a tax incentive already. Now there is also a PLI incentive to auto components manufacturers. So Ministry of Finance saying we already give subsidy to the end consumer by way of income tax relief. We give a PLI incentive to automakers. Do we really need to specifically subsidize electric four-wheelers or not? So I think FAME 3 hanging in balance right now, and next year, hopefully in the budget, if not earlier than that, we should know where we are headed when it comes to subsidizing of electric vehicles.
So many hopes riding on that budget, that upcoming budget, which will be the last
interim last budget of this government.
Exactly, exactly, including electric vehicle makers, especially electric vehicle two-wheeler makers, who've been enjoying the FAME subsidy and also passing it on to the consumers, to be fair. But we will take our focus away from FAME subsidies to a topic that we can't stop discussing. And that's because there are news updates on a daily basis. Ever since iconic Infosys founder Mr. Narayana Murthy said that Indians, young Indians, should be working 70 hours a week, the debate has just not abated. In the latest, adding fuel to that fire, raging fire, is the International Labour Organization, or ILO. What has the ILO said? The ILO said that 70 hours a week is absolute nonsense. Your average work week cannot be more than 40 hours a week, isn't it, Karthik?
Yeah, so it started with 48 hours a week, reduced to 40 hours a week. And I think, we've spoken enough. Let the numbers do the talking.
Yes.
And if we can pull up those bar graphs, we will see that the developed nations are actually just shy of even 40 hours.
Let's do that.
The US being the highest when it comes to developed nations, putting in 40 hours a week. And a country like Australia putting in as little as 29 hours a week.
Let's look at
the emerging markets, right? I think everybody's going to say, why do you talk about the developed nations? Developed nations have put in, slogged those extra number of hours, and hence they've become developed. We are still 25 years away from becoming a developed nation. Let's look at BRICS. India is the highest even among the emerging economies, the BRICS nations.
More than
even
Brazil.
Even China is about an hour a
Indians
week.
beat China in working hours, and we need to work more. There's something chronically wrong over here.
Yeah, I mean, Brazil, Russia averaging under 40 hours a week. China at about 46, still 1.5 hours a week, lesser than India. South Africa, you know,
this makes Indian bosses look like slave drivers. And then all those bosses and founders and CEOs are now backing Narendra Modi, saying that, sir, you are absolutely right. Heck, look at these numbers, all CEOs out there.
And let's compare it with developed nations also. Let's look at Australia. Australia has 29 hours a week, going all the way up to US at 40 hours a week.
We work more than everybody.
Norway, Germany, Switzerland, 34, 35
We
hours a
work
week.
more than Kazakhstan.
Krishna, you want to migrate there?
I would go to Kazakhstan. That's a 31-hour work week over there. Why are, Karthik, explain this to me. Why are these Indian senior professionals, people who are in the so-called C-suite, obsessed with this whole, how dare you question Narendra Murthy? Nobody is taking away Mr. Narendra Murthy's achievements, and so many Indians have jobs because of Infosys. This is not a personal tirade against Mr. Narendra Murthy. The question here is that, are people in the C-suite above a particular age out of touch with reality?
So, Krishna, I think, we've got to see where some of these founders and some of these, innovators, investors are really coming from. I think if you look at Mr. Narendra Murthy, who's 77, and may God bless him with a long life, I think what he's done for nation building, what he's done for India,
absolutely
cannot be questioned
no
ever.
Doubt about it.
But when he was building Infosys, as the founder of Infosys, obviously he had to work much harder than all the people he employed. And not just him, I think all the 7 founders, the 7 jokers as he refers to, who founded Infosys, I think all of them had to put in their hours, their long working hours, because that was the need to build an organization. So is the case with startup founders. When you're on a mission, when you're on a drive, when you really want to create something, you don't look at the clock. You put in those extra hours. I think the debate really is, can you compare founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs with people they employ? Because people at the end of the day believe they're doing a job. Most people, if you look at the bell curve, 80% of the population of working class, which is going to be within that average bell curve, is going to look for work-life balance, is going to look for other avenues outside of office to really live a life. And they're okay with the average salary they are drawing. They're not super achievers. That is why you have outliers in organizations. Those outliers will put in the hours and will eventually become CEOs. And hence, maybe Mr. Murthy's affirmation coming for those 20% outliers who will become future nation builders, while everybody else who's putting in smaller, lesser number of hours will continue business as usual.
I just have one answer to that, Karthik. All these outliers, they will need these average people to come in every day so that they can be the outliers.
Because that is the 80%. Which will do 20%
Who's
of the world.
These 20% ambitions. You have your ambitions, you achieve something, and then you look at the people who helped you achieve and say, hey, you need to work more. Heck, this is morally wrong. I don't care who says that this whole 70-hour work week. Everybody shut up. Nobody says anything against, Mr. Narendra Murthy says that. Nobody is questioning Mr. Narendra Murthy. But there is an out of touch with reality and understanding how this works. The same 20% outliers, the super achievers. I heard this argument as well. You want to be a super achiever, you have to work 70 hours. It is not just me working 70 hours a week. There's a bunch of people coming out there, putting in their shifts so that I can work 70 hours a week and be that super achiever.
Just in Mr. Murthy's defense, he wants the entire working population to become super achievers, put in those hours, become future leaders.
That's
and
never going to happen,
Karthik.
It's illogical to my mind. It's completely illogical. Everybody can't be a super achiever. Everybody doesn't want to be a super achiever. Some people just want to live life when we should let them be. And with that, we've completely run out of time here on this edition of Business Plus. Thank you so much for watching. But don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Global Business Report on the other side. Keep it with News 9 Live. Literally every major power in the world is gearing up with its own digital currency. And so is India. But India's UPI has taken digital transactions to the next level. So, with UPI already available, what exactly is the use case for the e-rupee?
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT. News 9 Plus, download now.
Hamas attacks Israel. Israel Defense Forces strike back at Hamas. As the war unfolds, watch the comprehensive coverage of the Israel war only on News 9 Plus. To watch the full story, download the app now.
This is the largest attack that the Hamas has ever done onto Israeli soil.
Within 20 minutes, more than 3,000 missiles were fired at Israel, along with vehicle-transported incursions.
Their main aim is only to finish the Hamas network. Main lifeline of Hamas, that is the tunnel, Hezbollah is also their main target.
You can kill a leader or 2 leaders or 10 leaders, it may delay their functioning for some time.
Most of the Hamas leadership who have been mastermind of all these things.
And last 10 years, $1 billion has gone into, brought in by this leader which sits in there. So every leader has its own role to perform.
In the early morning of October 7, 2023, the world woke up to the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Within 20 minutes, more than 3,000 missiles were fired at Israel, along with vehicle-transported incursions. With this, Hamas announced the start of Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. In a series of coordinated attacks, militants breached the Gaza-Israel barrier, slaughtering civilians in the neighboring Israeli communities and attacking military bases, resulting in a death toll of over 1,300 Israelis, including women and children. Soon after the assault, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared a state of emergency for areas within 80 kilometers of the Gaza border and pledged that Israel will win by calling for mobilization of tens of thousands of army reservists. IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, launched Operation Swords of Iron to launch an invasion of Gaza. The goal was to rescue the hostages taken to Gaza and parallelly wipe out the top political and military hierarchy of the Hamas, the Palestinian group that controls Gaza.
Their main aim is only to finish the Hamas network. Initially, they will destroy the main lifeline of Hamas, that is the tunnel services. They are the tunnel because once they destroy all these things, then it's very easy to make them not to operate in all these northern areas. Then they will go behind the top leadership. Most probably, most of the Hamas leadership who have been mastermind of all these things might be escaped or might be in the different in the other parts of the world.
To find out who is Hamas and who is not Hamas is difficult. And also the Hamas is melted in the population across there. The population is not anti-Hamas. 56 or 60% last voting supported Hamas as an organization. To say that the population will give out information that this fellow is Hamas and you can come and kill him, that is not simple. So you can kill a leader or 2 leaders or 10 leaders, it may delay their functioning for some time. The efficiency may be lost for some time, but finally another fellow will be thrown up and that fellow will take charge of the same situation and carry it out. How many people can you keep assassinating, saying that you kill leaders? It's not so simple proposition.
As of today, the IDF has successfully neutralized 2 of Hamas's top military leadership and is determined to go after all of them one by one, starting from Mahmoud al-Zahar also known as Al-Zahar, a Palestinian politician and co-founder of Hamas. Believed to be about 60 years old, Zahar was close to Hamas founder Ahmed Yassin and has also served as foreign minister in the Hamas-dominated Palestinian Authority government.
He created $1 billion from Qatari government, which were fed into Hamas, carried in suitcases and notes inside Gaza. That money which allows the fighting to take place in Gaza comes from Qatar. And last 10 years, $1 billion has gone into, brought in by this leader which sits in there.
Yahya al-Sinwar, also known as Yahya Sinwar, he is being referred to as the face of evil. He is accused of masterminding the recent Hamas attack, which left 1,300 Israelis dead. He is the current Palestinian leader of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. It is al-Sinwar who co-founded the security apparatus of Hamas and is considered the second most powerful figure within the Hamas.
دعها سرا يا أبا إبراهيم، دعها سرا ولتتحدث عن نفسها إذا حدثت.
Mohammed Daif Ibrahim Masri, or Mohammed Daif, often referred to as Al-Daif, the guest, is a one-eyed Palestinian militant and supreme military commander of the military wing of Hamas. He is believed to be one of the masterminds behind the audacious October 7 attack. At present, his whereabouts are unknown, though he is believed to be hiding in Gaza somewhere in the maze of tunnels and is currently on top of Israel's hit list. Abu Ubaidah, one of the most ferocious Islamist Palestinian terrorists, was the person who announced that Hamas was holding dozens of Israeli soldiers captive in safe places and tunnels in the Gaza Strip. Ubaidah's actual name is not known, and neither are most of his personal details. He always is seen wearing a kafaya over his face.
إن الموعد المحدد للتهدئة قد اقتربت نهايته وإننا لن نمدد هذه التهدئة.
Ismail Abdel Salem Ahmad Hanaya, also referred to as Ismail Hanaya, is a senior political leader of Hamas and is formerly one of the two disputed prime ministers of the Palestinian National Authority. He is also the chairman of the Hamas Political Bureau and is the main political leader of Hamas, living in Doha, Qatar. It is he who named the Hamas terrorist attacks on October 7 Operation Al-Aqsa Flood and pledged to continue the battle to liberate his land and his prisoners. Hanaya said that the Palestinian militant factions would press on with the operation in the West Bank and Jerusalem. It will be challenging for the Israelis to target Hanaya, as footage has emerged of him celebrating the attacks with other Hamas officials at his office in Doha.
أن يكون على رأس الحركة في غزة أخ مجاهد من أسرى الحرية.
When they announced that they are going for a war, that when they already decided, they already discussed that what will be the scenario if they go for a war against Hamas. They already know that many organizations like Hezbollah, ISIS, and many other organizations like TTP will definitely try and support them. So they already have all these inputs. But for them right now is the Hamas elimination or the Hamas network elimination is the top priority.
Whether the world will witness assassinations of these Hamas leaders or not, this will become clear in the next few days. But for now, Israeli forces are determined to bring back its citizens as well as citizens of other nations stuck in Gaza. Have been killed in Israel due to the terror attacks. Hamas in Gaza over the years has built a massive network of underground tunnels, often used to carry out attacks in Israel and smuggle goods from Egypt. Yet, mostly it is used to let Hamas carry out its operations through underground command centers, which are also equipped to store and transport men and ammunition. Here, right behind me, you can get a glimpse of the map of these underground tunnels all across. In fact, in November 2022, I was a part of a delegation where the Israeli Defense Forces and the Israeli government had invited me